Hello and welcome to Relationships and Astrology. And I'm Margaret Gray in Dublin.
And I'm Armand Diaz in New York.
And today we're talking about the new moon in Sagittarius. And also, in fact, we're talking about Venus square Uranus. So it's quite a dynamic few days ahead of us, Armand, isn't it?
It certainly is, Margaret. And I think that, we think about the new moon. It's typically the quiet time in the lunar cycle. It's usually a time for going inward and resting. And maybe the day or so before the new moon, when the moon is void for a long period of time and there's no aspects, would be a sort of quiet time. But I think we're going to come out of this new moon like that. It's going to be a very, very quick start to the lunar cycle.
It certainly feels like a very dynamic new moon, and we haven't had a lot of dynamic either full moons or new moons. They've been a lot of very intense ones, scorpionic ones, and they've really kind of been, we've really had a feeling of just being pulled into the depths, whereas this one feels like we're really rising, like into the heavens, into soaring into more kind of mental issues, our thinking function, our thoughts, our assumptions. And really in terms of relationships, I think it's a lot about what are our beliefs, what are our assumptions. We're challenging anything that's a little bit stuck maybe.
Oh, especially with Venus square Uranus. I mean, that's an aspect that, it says let's change the channel a little bit. Let's open up things, new possibilities. Let's look at things in a new way. It's a very dynamic aspect. It's a good time to try something new, maybe try someone new. It's a very freedom oriented, and in the event that that's not working, it would be really good to have a little space. If you can't be on the same page and you can't try something new together, maybe it's a good time to spend a little time alone.
Yes, or maybe a little trip away, a bit of traveling, or even also planning maybe new courses, something that's kind of exciting. It certainly feels like a time of new adventures, whether it's new adventures with the same person or new adventures with somebody new, but it's something that's spontaneous, really to take a chance at this new moon. That's what it really feels like, go on an adventure. And what came to mind was, nothing ventured, nothing gained. So just go for it. Just take a risk, go for it.
I think that the Venus-Uranus aspect is certainly pushing that in relationships, and the Sagittarius new moon is always a good time to think about what you want to explore, as you said, what you want to learn, where you want to grow. The only thing is that this is a lot of high energy coming right out of the new moon, and the moon makes things happen, and right at that new moon time, Luna's moving a little slowly. And she's going to hit Saturn not too far after the new moon. So it may be a little bit like we start running and realize, our shoelace is untied type of thing. We may try to get off to a little bit too quick a start.
That's a very good point. And also that it's still squaring the nodes, of course. And that node in Neptune is that node conjunct Neptune in Pisces, of course, is still quite watery. So there could be still a little bit of difficulty pulling away maybe from the past, a little reluctance to move into that Virgo North node. But I think that this may give just a little push. And I noticed also that the Sabian symbol for this new moon is deep within the depths of the earth. New elements are being formed, and thanks to Linda Hill for these Sabian symbols. And I thought that was quite an interesting one because it just gives us all hope that something is forming deep within, everything that we've been going through. There's kind of new seeds that are beginning to form and beginning to sprout.
Well, that whole image of something being formed within the earth, actually, if we talk about relationships, last week, Venus was conjunct Pluto, which is sort of down in the depths. And it may be the tensions that were simmering last week come up and erupt now as Venus meets with Uranus. So, if things have been a little bit tense in relationship, there may have been a sense of glossing over them a little bit, or just sort of keeping the lid on for a little while last week. And probably it would be difficult to do that this week with Venus square Uranus.
I agree. A good time to kind of think carefully before communicating. A good time to communicate, because without communication, nothing moves forward, of course. And so many people end up making assumptions about what somebody else is thinking, particularly in a close relationship. There's that kind of those assumptions are made so easily because you think you know somebody and what they're thinking, but actually, the assumption could be wrong. So a good time to clarify things rather, if in doubt, rather than just make assumptions.
Yeah, definitely. I think that that's a good strategy to keep in mind. And then, the other thing is too, there can be a sense of, okay, I've had enough, and sometimes people are looking for that as well. And the faith of Sagittarius and the tension of Uranus Venus might be what some folks need to sort of make that push and sort of jump out of a situation that's not entirely satisfactory.
So it's a good time to kind of think about all those things, make decisions, challenge the old, challenge assumptions, challenge beliefs, and jump into something new. And we'll have more for you in the next week or so, because there's a lot of interesting aspects actually coming up in the next few weeks. So it's going to be a very busy month going forward.
It certainly is. And I'll see you for that, Margaret.
Take care. Bye-bye, Armand.